Back off, baby.
I'm just getting a little kiss.
No.
Teeniest kiss besides.
From rock stardom to dangerous addictions, this is the untold story of Anthony Kiedis, the Red Hot Chili Peppers' enigmatic frontman whose life has been a roller coaster of fame, addiction, and redemption. The early years, a tale of two lives. Born on November 1st, 1962, Anthony Kiedis entered the world as the son of Margaret Peggy Noble and John Michael Kiedis. His early childhood was split between two contrasting worlds after his parents' divorce when he was just 3 years old. For 9 formative years, he lived with his mother in Michigan, where he developed a passion for performing arts. I used to sing with my mom, listening to the AM radio, Anthony recalls, reminiscing about his first musical inclinations before setting his sights on acting. Hollywood calling, a father's influence. Summer visits to his father in Los Angeles painted a different picture entirely. The vibrant energy of Hollywood captured young Anthony's imagination. There was psychotic beauty in the air, he remembers. These visits had such a profound impact that at just 12 years old, he made the life-changing decision to move in with his father permanently. Their relationship was unique. More than just father and son, they were partners in crime, as Anthony describes it. While pursuing his acting dreams, appearing in various films and TV shows, Anthony was about to embark on a much darker journey. Descent into darkness, early exposure. What started as innocent experimentation quickly spiraled into something more sinister. His father, deeply embedded in the Hollywood party scene, exposed Anthony to drugs at an alarmingly young age. Beginning with marijuana and LSD, the progression to harder substances was swift and devastating. At just 14, Anthony had his first encounter with heroin, a pivotal moment he describes as accidental, mistaking it for cocaine. This early exposure to drugs, combined with premature sexual experiences encouraged by his father's permissive parenting, set the stage for years of struggle that would later inform both his music and his life story. Innocence lost, a father's dangerous legacy. The relationship between Anthony and his father took a disturbing turn just before his 12th birthday. At the Rainbow Bar and Grill, under the influence of Quaaludes, young Anthony made an unthinkable request to his father through a handwritten note, asking permission to have sexual relations with his father's girlfriend, Kimberly. What followed was a moment that would haunt Anthony's future, as his father not only agreed but facilitated the encounter. This premature exposure to adult experiences would later become a source of deep psychological complexity in Anthony's life. Hollywood's dark underbelly. His father, known in Hollywood circles as Blackie, wasn't just a permissive parent. He was a prominent drug dealer to the stars. This connection opened doors to a world where 12-year-old Anthony regularly rubbed shoulders with rock legends like Keith Moon and Hollywood elite. It was a different era, Anthony reflects, much more naive but very experimental, sexually, drug-wise, music-wise, art-wise. The Sunset Strip of 1973 became his playground, a dangerous paradise that would shape his future perspectives and struggles. The dawn of brotherhood. Despite his spiral into substance abuse and petty crime, Anthony maintained exceptional academic performance, partly due to his father's investment in his education. The turning point came at Fairfax High School, where fate introduced him to Michael "Flea" Balzery and Hillel Slovak. Their first encounter was anything but conventional, a near fight that transformed into an unbreakable friendship. "I met someone I can really talk to," Flea would later tell his mother. The trio spent countless hours sharing music, exploring nature, and forming bonds that would later revolutionize rock music. While Slovak and Flea immediately gravitated toward forming a band, Anthony's musical awakening would come later, though these friendships would prove instrumental in shaping his eventual role as one of rock's most distinctive frontmen. From student to wanderer, the transition years. 1980 marked a pivotal moment as Anthony Kiedis, Flea, and Slovak graduated from Fairfax High School. While his friends pursued their musical aspirations, Anthony took a different path. graduating with honors and briefly attending UCLA. However, his academic journey would be short-lived. Growing tensions with his father forced him to move out, marking the beginning of a tumultuous period in his life. Lost years and chemical dependencies. For the next few years, Kiedis lived a nomadic existence, drifting between friends' couches and occasionally sleeping in his car. To fuel his escalating drug habits, which included LSD, cocaine, and heroin, he resorted to petty theft and selling whatever he could get his hands on. Despite his struggles, he remained closely connected to the local music scene, supporting his friends' performances and becoming a familiar face in Hollywood's underground venues. The birth of a legend. The transformation from spectator to performer happened almost by accident at Hollywood's Rhythm Lounge. What started as a one-song experiment, with Anthony on vocals, Slovak wielding the guitar, Jack Irons behind the drums, and Flea on bass, turned into an explosive revelation. It was so chemically correct, Kiedis later recalled, we just couldn't stop. The club owner, Solomon Burke, was so impressed by their raw energy that he immediately booked them for the following week. Early success and growing pains. The band's trajectory accelerated rapidly, gaining notoriety for their provocative performances, including their infamous sock-only show at the Kit Kat Club. This audacious display caught EMI Records' attention, leading to their first record deal. However, success brought its own challenges. Shortly after their debut album's release in August 1984, Slovak and Irons departed to focus on their other project, What Is This? The band quickly recruited Jack Sherman and Cliff Martinez as replacements, but this was just the beginning of the personnel changes that would shape the Red Hot Chili Peppers' early years. Their unconventional style and punk rock energy were already making waves, catching the attention of funk legend George Clinton, who would become instrumental in shaping their sound during their Detroit recording sessions. The dark days of addiction. As the band's star began to rise, so did their struggles with substance abuse. The recording sessions became a dangerous dance between creativity and addiction. Kiedis, battling what he initially mistook for food poisoning, was actually experiencing severe heroin withdrawal. In a desperate attempt to maintain productivity, he turned to cocaine to power through recording sessions, creating a vicious cycle of dependency. The situation grew so dire that the band fell behind in payments to their cocaine supplier. In an unprecedented move, they were forced to feature the dealer's vocals on one of their tracks to appease his mounting anger. Kiedis later attempted a brief period of sobriety, describing it as deciding to be celibate when you're living in a brothel. His motivation wasn't health-driven, but purely practical. I realized it was harder to sing when you've got coke dripping down the back of your throat. The Uplift Mofo party plan era. 1985 brought a grueling tour schedule that only deepened the addiction crisis. When EMI provided $55,000 for their third album's demo tape, Kiedis and Slovak immediately allocated $2,000 for heroin and cocaine. The band's dysfunction reached a breaking point with drummer Martinez's dismissal, leading to Jack Irons' return. Kiedis' creative output suffered dramatically. Studio sessions were marked by his absence or him literally falling asleep during rehearsals. The band's reputation for drug use became so notorious that producer Rick Rubin declined to work with them. During this tumultuous period, an extraordinary incident occurred when Circle Jerks' Keith Morris had to step in as lead vocalist for an entire show in 1984, a testament to how unreliable Kiedis had become. The first steps toward recovery. Despite the chaos, the band's popularity continued to grow. Being named LA Weekly's Band of the Year served as a wake-up call for Kiedis. He checked into a Salvation Army rehab facility in Grand Rapids, Michigan, marking his first period of sobriety since age 11. The clarity brought a surge of creativity, but the celebration of his 50-day milestone ironically led him back to drugs. As producer Michael Bourne later recalled, "There were points in pre-production where I really thought the record wasn't going to get made." This cycle of recovery and relapse would become a familiar pattern in Kiedis' journey, as he later reflected, "When I'm using, my life sucks. When I'm clean, my life gets really beautiful. The rise of the Uplift Mofo party plan. During the recording sessions for their third album, Kiedis' songwriting began to take a remarkable turn. The band descended into the basement of Capitol Records, where they would create what would become the Uplift Mofo party plan. Released in September 1987, the album peaked at hash 148 on the Billboard 200, showcasing their evolving sound and Kiedis' increasingly introspective lyrics. The devastating spiral. The subsequent Uplift tour with Faith No More marked a dark chapter in the band's history. Both Kiedis and Slovak made a pact to achieve sobriety together, but their journey proved tragically different. While Kiedis managed to maintain some stability, Slovak's withdrawal symptoms became severe, leading to mental breakdowns and missed performances. The band was forced to recruit Dwayne Blackbird McKnight, a former Parliament Funkadelic member, to fill the void. When the European leg of the tour approached, Slovak rejoined the band, but his demons hadn't subsided. Despite Kiedis' desperate attempts to get his friend into counseling, Slovak struggled to acknowledge the severity of his addiction. The isolation that followed their return home proved fatal. Slovak was found dead from a heroin overdose, a loss that would reshape the band's future forever. Rebuilding from tragedy. The death of Slovak sent shockwaves through the band. Jack Irons, unable to cope with the loss of his childhood friend, departed, later finding success with Pearl Jam. Kiedis, overwhelmed by grief, fled Los Angeles and skipped the funeral. "I lost one of my best friends in the world," he would later reflect. "Not just a guitarist, but a sensitive, loving, creative soul who battled the disease of addiction." The band's resurrection came through change. After Kiedis completed a 30-day rehabilitation program and finally confronted his grief at Slovak's grave, they began rebuilding. The arrival of 18-year-old John Frusciante, a devoted fan turned guitarist, and Chad Smith on drums in late 1988 marked the beginning of a new era. This lineup would go on to create Mother's Milk, their breakthrough album that reached hash 52 on the Billboard 200 and earned gold certification. A new chapter with Warner Brothers. Following successful tours across the United States and Europe, the band's contract with EMI concluded. Despite their troubled history with substance abuse, Warner Brothers Records took a chance on them. The addition of legendary producer Rick Rubin for their next album, Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic, would prove transformative. Eschewing traditional studios, they chose to record in an allegedly haunted mansion, adding to the mystique of what would become their masterpiece. The Haunted Mansion Sessions. In their pursuit of creating something extraordinary, the band chose an unconventional recording location, a supposedly haunted Hollywood mansion once owned by the legendary escape artist Harry Houdini. This ethereal setting would become the birthplace of their magnum opus, as Kiedis, still wrestling with his demons, poured his darkest thoughts into lyrics that would resonate with millions. Under the Bridge, a confession in song form. Among the tracks emerged Under the Bridge, a raw confession that began as a private poem in Kiedis' notebook. The song painted a vivid picture of his darkest days, when his only companion was Mario, a Mexican mafia ex-convict. Together they would prowl downtown Los Angeles in search of their next fix. The haunting lyrics, Under the Bridge downtown, I gave my life away, referred to a specific incident where Kiedis, after days without sleep, followed Mario to a gang-controlled territory beneath a freeway bridge. Their entry was granted only through Mario's lie about Kiedis dating his sister, a deception that allowed them to access this forbidden sanctuary of addiction. Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic, a masterpiece emerges. The album became a tapestry of Kiedis' personal struggles and sexual bravado. Breaking the Girl reflected his fear of following his father's pattern of failed relationships, while Sir Psycho Sexy embodied an exaggerated hypersexual alter ego. A brief romance with Irish singer Sinead O'Connor inspired the vulnerable I Could Have Lied. Released on September 24, 1991, the same day as Nirvana's Nevermind, Blood Sugar Sex Magic skyrocketed to #3 on the Billboard 200. The album's success, driven by hits like Give It Away and Under the Bridge, would eventually earn 7 times platinum status and sell 13 million copies worldwide. Fame's heavy toll. As their audiences grew larger and fans began singing their lyrics back to them, the weight of fame proved too heavy for guitarist John Frusciante. Struggling with heroin addiction and overwhelmed by success, he reached his breaking point during a Tokyo performance. After initially refusing to perform, he was convinced to finish the show but quit immediately after, retreating into a spiral of addiction. The band, reaching new heights of fame, recruited former Jane's Addiction guitarist Dave Navarro, another heroin user, marking the beginning of yet another turbulent chapter in their story. The Navarro era, a chemistry experiment gone wrong. After Frusciante's departure, the Red Hot Chili Peppers found themselves at another crossroads. The band turned to Dave Navarro, Jane's Addiction's virtuoso guitarist, hoping his extraordinary talent would breathe new life into their music. "We needed someone special," Flea recalls, and Dave was this beautiful, extraordinary individual who we thought could rekindle our spirit. The band retreated to Sound Factory Studios to work on their new album, One Hot Minute. However, the recording process revealed deeper issues. After maintaining sobriety for 5 years, Kiedis experienced a devastating relapse following a dental procedure. "I went in there without my tools, without my connection to where I'd come from," Kiedis confessed. "I just thought I was good, that I'd live and die sober, but I'd stopped doing the work." One Hot Minute, a testament to turmoil. Released on September 12, 1995, One Hot Minute showcased Navarro's distinctive guitar work, first previewed at Woodstock '94, where the band memorably performed in light bulb costumes, but beneath the surface, tensions were brewing. Navarro struggled to adapt to the band's unique dynamics, while Kiedis' renewed heroin addiction caused frequent disappearances during recording sessions. Anthony would go missing for weeks, Navarro revealed. He'd check into hotels and we wouldn't know if he was alive or even still our singer. The situation created a paradoxical tension. Navarro was eventually fired for his drug use despite Kiedis battling the same demon. This double standard would later become a source of bitter controversy. The chemistry conundrum. Flea later reflected on this tumultuous period. "What we discovered is that it doesn't matter how great a musician you get. If the chemistry isn't sent from God, you might not have the magic." The band had learned a valuable lesson about the delicate balance of personalities required for their success. "We're all a bunch of weirdos anyway," Chad Smith added, "so it's important to find the right combination of weirdos." The Navarro experiment ultimately ended with Frusciante's return to the band clean and eager to reconnect. While Navarro initially expressed anger at what he perceived as hypocrisy regarding drug use, he later admitted to being stoked about Frusciante's return, recognizing that sometimes chemistry transcends technical ability in creating musical magic. Return of the Prodigal Son. Frusciante's return marked a pivotal moment in the band's history. The reunion wasn't just about making music, it was about healing. "When John and I saw each other again," Kiedis recalls, "all the pain and sadness just evaporated. We didn't need long conversations or explanations. One look conveyed everything: our mistakes, our love, our connection. We were ready to create again." The band immediately channeled this renewed energy into the studio, working on their 7th album, Californication. Since his dental procedure relapse, Kiedis maintained his sobriety, though the path wouldn't always be smooth. Chaos and controversy. Throughout his career, Kiedis seemed to attract or create chaos wherever he went. From his early days breaking into school cafeterias with his childhood friend John to buy drugs, to having his house raided due to his father's drug-dealing activities, trouble was never far behind. His rock star status only amplified these tendencies. Public feuds became commonplace, notably with Faith No More, Jane's Addiction's Eric Avery, and rumors of tension with Korn. In 2013, he found himself in an altercation with Rolling Stone's security. and in 2018, he was ejected from an NBA game after a heated exchange with Chris Paul and the Rockets coaching staff. Legal troubles and dark allegations. The darker side of Kiedis' story emerged in 1989 during the Mother's Milk tour. At George Mason University, he faced sexual battery charges after allegedly forcing unwanted physical contact with a female fan. Despite his insistence that it was harmless and playful, the incident resulted in convictions for both sexual battery and indecent exposure with $1,000 fines for each charge. The band's controversial behavior extended beyond Kiedis. In 1990, bandmates Flea and Chad Smith faced battery charges in Daytona Beach during an MTV Spring Break performance. The incident involved inappropriate physical contact with a female fan, leading to their removal by security. These events cast a shadow over their success, revealing the complex and often troubling nature of rock stardom in an era of excess. "We've made mistakes," Kiedis would later acknowledge, "and we've hurt people. Those aren't proud moments for any of us." This recognition of past transgressions would become a crucial part of their evolution as artists and human beings. A pattern of misconduct. The true extent of the band's controversial behavior came to light through a series of disturbing incidents. In a particularly troubling case, Flea and Chad Smith faced serious charges in Volusia County. The incident occurred during a spring break performance when they allegedly assaulted a woman in the crowd. Despite their initial denials, both members ultimately pleaded guilty, receiving $11,000 fines each and orders to contribute $5,000 to the Volusia County Rape Crisis Center. The arresting officer's report painted a grim picture describing the victim as visibly shaken with injuries sustained while defending herself against their advances. Industry allegations surface. The band's problematic behavior extended beyond concert venues and into the professional realm. In 2016, former Epic Records executive Julie Farman broke her silence about a disturbing encounter from 1990. Initially reluctant to meet with the band, she eventually agreed at a colleague's insistence. Despite maintaining professional composure during their meeting, what followed would haunt her for years. In the company's storage room, two band members allegedly cornered her, making explicit suggestions about forming a super sexy sandwich. The incident left Farman traumatized, though she initially struggled to process her feelings, noting that being a victim didn't align with her self-image as a badass industry professional. The darker side of stardom. Kiedis' own writings and public statements reveal a troubling pattern of hypersexualization and inappropriate behavior. His memoir contains explicit details of sexual encounters, including disturbing accounts of statutory rape. In one particularly shocking passage, he describes meeting a young woman after a show, immediately pursuing her and engaging in sexual activity within minutes of their introduction. His cavalier attitude toward these encounters, coupled with his provocative onstage behavior and sexually charged lyrics, paints a picture of an artist who frequently crossed ethical and legal boundaries, often without apparent remorse or self-reflection. The dark side of fame, disturbing revelations. Perhaps the most troubling aspect of Kiedis' story emerges from his own admissions. In his memoir, he describes a particularly disturbing encounter with a Catholic schoolgirl. After learning intimate details about her life, including her attendance at a Catholic school, she became the inspiration for the song Catholic Schoolgirls Rule. The following day, she accompanied them to Baton Rouge, where she revealed two shocking truths. She was only 14, and her father was Louisiana's chief of police. A pattern of predatory behavior. While there's no empirical evidence to support this account, and no victim has come forward, Kiedis' apparent pride in documenting these events is deeply concerning. The creation of Catholic Schoolgirls Rule and its accompanying music video, featuring a hypersexualized young actress matching the description of the 14-year-old, suggests a disturbing pattern of behavior. This wasn't an isolated incident. Throughout his career, Kiedis consistently pursued significantly younger women. In the mid-'80s, he began a 4-year relationship with Ione Skye of Say Anything fame when she was just 16 and he was 24. More recently, at age 50, he dated 18-year-old Helena Vestergaard, followed by a relationship with 22-year-old model Vanessa Milhamem when he was 55. Legal implications and contemporary context. Under Louisiana law, Kiedis' alleged actions would constitute carnal knowledge of a juvenile, commonly known as statutory rape. With Louisiana's recent lifting of the statute of limitations for child molestation crimes in August 2024 and similar changes expected for all sexual abuse crimes, Kiedis could theoretically still face charges today. If the victim were to come forward, he could face up to 10 years in prison, as the age difference of more than 4 years would classify the offense as a felony. Anthony Kiedis' story serves as a dark reminder that behind the glitter of rock stardom often lies a troubling reality. While his musical legacy is undeniable, his personal choices cast a long shadow over his achievements, raising crucial questions about accountability in the entertainment industry.